Hello and welcome to the Halio Speculo setup and testing overview video. In this video, we will unbox a Speculo system, show all of the individual items shipped with the Speculo system, set up the Speculo system, configure it, and then run the tests that you will be using in the field. Let's begin. You will notice we've shipped 4 pieces of documentation with the unit for you to review. The first one is the mobile Speculo unit overview itself that also goes through everything that we're talking about on this video, but in more detail. The other documentation shipped will be how to replace or install the large Speculo battery that will be shipped to you in a separate shipment. Also included is how to use the XLR adapter and limited power mode to utilize the system when the battery is not available. And finally, the Speculo Field User Guide, which goes through and tells you how to do the same tests that we will be going through in this video, again, in slightly more detail. Next, we have a Windows Surface 3 tablet with Windows 10 Professional installed. Also included is a keyboard with trackpad, as well as a stylus. Here we have our battery mount secure system. Consists of a piece of DIN rail, as well as 2 Phillips head screws that will secure the battery when placed into the case so it does not shift around. More on that later. Next, we uncover what else is shipping with the system. Included is a special Speculo driver cable that not only has the M12 connector that will attach the driver cable to the pigtail, but also a 9-pin IP67 Canon connector that will attach directly to the front of the Speculo system. Next, we have an XLR adapter that is made for our limited power mode option. More on this later. For the Surface tablet, we have our charger, an IP65 waterproof rated USB cable that will also plug into the front of the Speculo system. Also included is a compact Bluetooth scanner option. Once removed from the box, you can see we have power switch on the rear, as well as the trigger to scan with the unit off on the left-hand side. This unit is made to be used on your finger, but you can hold it whichever way feels most comfortable. Moving on to the items that are secure within the Speculo case, we have a serial edge board connected to a Halio driver. The internal USB cable must be plugged into the outermost USB port for proper functionality. Additionally, it's always important to note where the LEDs are located so that you can see firsthand whether the unit has power or not. We have the Halio connection box, which connects the driver cable into this box and eventually over to the driver. The nice thing about the connection box is these color-coded bed of nails connections that will allow you to further troubleshoot a device should that be necessary. To the left of the connection box, we have the battery power supply and charger. This unit supplies the charging necessary for our battery to operate, but if needed, can use the XLR limited power mode adapter to directly power the driver. Also included with Speculo is 2 extra serial edge boards. The Speculo battery ships with the power off, which is indicated by the power switch facing towards the front of the unit. To install the battery, make sure all extra cables are cleared out of the way. Hold the battery with the power switch up and to the left. Then slowly lower the battery into the case of the Speculo unit. The battery will rest on the cradle on the rear of the Speculo unit, off to the left just a little bit. Once it is sitting on the cradle securely, go ahead and slide the unit to the right, and it will rest in place, making all the connections necessary. Time to use the secure battery lock included with the system. Simply line up the 2 holes on the back of the case and screw down the 2-inch length of DIN rail. This will secure the battery from sliding left to right and disconnecting during any transportation. Now is the time to check to see if the system is working. Remember, we have the battery shut off. We will switch the power to the right, turning the unit on. We now can see that we have LEDs illuminated on the driver. By turning the system back off, we can then put the XLR connection into the battery to charge the unit. The battery unit itself ships with about 50% charge. The unit will run for approximately 8 to 12 hours on a single battery charge, but it is always good to keep it charged up for each workday. The charger can remain plugged into the battery, but the battery does have to be on to perform all of the tests. Speaking of testing, let's set up for an actual test. We have our Surface tablet out, as well as our driver cable, our scanner, and our USB. Let's plug in our USB into the front of the Speculo unit, and then plug it into the side of the Windows Surface tablet. Using a button on the upper left of the Surface tablet, we're going to power the system on. Next, we're going to connect our driver cable using our 9-pin connection. It's important to note there are only 8 pins within the connection. This also helps with alignment. Though the connection is keyed so it can only be inserted one way, it is a lot easier to use if you line up the cables correctly prior to inserting the connection. Once the Canon connector is securely screwed down, we can then examine the pigtail. Note, there is an alignment arrow on the top of the M12 connector. There will also be an alignment arrow on the pigtail, so that you can line the arrows up to make an easy connection without bending any pins. Locate the pigtail attached to the device that you wish to test. Find the alignment arrow on the top of the pigtail, and then insert the pigtail male to female and screw down securely. Once the connection has been made, let's go back to our workstation. Because this is the first time we've connected this unit up, we want to make a couple of extra connections. First, we want to make sure that we have a connection to the local Wi-Fi. This is just a Windows computer, so it's just like hooking up any other computer to the Wi-Fi. Simply go to the Wi-Fi tab off to the right, find the connection that you wish to connect to, select it, and put the password in if necessary. To adjust the screen size of the tablet, simply launch the search bar in the lower left and type "Make everything bigger" and select Enter. This will bring up a screen where you can change the resolution, or in simple terms, make the program look bigger. We currently ship the system at 150%, but if you require the screen to be larger or smaller for whatever reason, go ahead and adjust it to whatever suits your needs. Before powering up our Bluetooth scanner for the first time, let's check to see the Bluetooth connection is actually made. From the factory, the Bluetooth joining process has already been done on the scanner, but we still want to make sure it connects this first time. You will see in Bluetooth and other devices, once the unit is turned on, that the barcode scanner has indeed connected. Now, let's launch Speculo. Because this is your first time using the unit, you're going to check to see that the COM ports are configured properly. From the factory, these COM ports are already set up and ready to go. From the main unit, let's select Configure. We are then going to go to the driver and select Configure, and the proper COM port should show up. We would then select Submit. This is also the same area that if you do not have a battery, or the battery needs to be replaced, or you need to just run the system without the battery, this is where we would make the check to run on power limited mode with that XLR adapter. Simply put the checkbox in the box, then select Submit. Now let's launch the test. First, it asks for a Halio ID, which you're going to scan off of the device label or the pigtail. Use your Bluetooth scanner to scan the QR code, which will automatically populate the Halio ID and launch the test. Note, if a red light is shown in the upper left, you should either check the internet connectivity for database or check the USB connection or COM port for serial board and driver. From here, we will execute the tests your Halio representative has asked you to complete. The 3 crucial tests we will go over right now. We will do the electrical test, Test 2, first. This test ensures that all electrical connections, both internal and external, are complete and the panel is working. Now that this test is passed, we will choose test number 4, the quick drive test. This test will now put 20 coulombs of energy into the panel and then pull 20 coulombs back out to ensure the panel is healthy. This test takes a little longer than the electrical test. These tests are then pushed up to the Halio cloud for testing, tracking, troubleshooting, and any other analytics that we may require in the future. If the electrical test or drive test fails, try a different pigtail and make sure all connections are secure. If the test still fails, set the panel aside for further troubleshooting. Those troubleshooting steps are outlined in a separate document. Once the quick drive test has been completed, all we need to do is get the window prepared for shipping. To do that, I'm going to show you how to use the stylus. Up until now, we've used the keyboard and the trackpad to execute the tests. The stylus can also be very useful in that it can be a little more precise. Note that the stylus actually has a button on it. This button not only turns on the stylus, but it also, when pressed, gives you the alternate or right-hand click that you would use on a mouse. Now, with our stylus in hand, we will execute our last requirement, which is set panel for shipping. Once executed, the panel will then tint to 60%, getting it ready for shipping. Once this has been completed and you see set panel for shipping results pushed, simply close the window in the upper right-hand corner and continue on to the next window. If you have entered notes in the notes field, press submit to send those to the database. Otherwise, close the test window to bring you back to the main menu. We hope you have found some value in this video. Please refer to the manual shipped with the Speculo unit for more detailed descriptions of all tests and devices included with Speculo. Thank you for watching.